What is going on, guys? Chris here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over Friday's price action. So at the time of recording this, it's Saturday, an evening Saturday, and I just want to go over NQ primarily today because I don't believe that ES on Friday had very good movement. I didn't even trade it. So in comparison to NQ, it was quite strong. As you can see, it only really broke the low of the day that it formed in the morning in the last 1 to 2 minutes of the day, or actually the last candle of the day. But for NQ, we had a lot more weakness as well as a lot more strength midday. So this is a chart we're going to be focusing on today. I want to go through the trades that I took, and then as well as other moments in the chart that I think are very important for my learning as well as your guys' learning. It's going to be highly beneficial, so stick around for the entire thing. So the first thing that we like to do is we want to mark out our buy sides and our sell sides. So for the AM session, that is between 2 to 5 a.m. Eastern time, we saw our AM buy side occurred right here at the level of 65. And then for our AM sell side, it was right after 2 a.m. and it occurred at 92. So those are the two levels I have drawn out for AM buy and sell side. And there's also this other little sell side that I like. And the reason I really liked it is simply because we were kind of trending up in the morning before the market opened. And then we had this little low form here. And then we had this liquidity grab before a large run into the open. So market opens right here after this big ass drop, and it grabs the liquidity over here from PM buy side. We'll get to that in a second. But what we really want to focus on here is this liquidity grab to downside and why this level is important, because we're going to see it gets attracted to this level. It retests later in the session here, so after the market opens. But let's just go to this PM buy side from previous day. So on Thursday, right before this big ass move to the downside, we saw this high form where it doesn't quite grab liquidity above this little tick here, which is 14.75. And we formed this high. Actually, we double top at exactly 14.75. So it was equal highs, my apologies. So equal highs there. But regardless, it didn't grab liquidity above that level. So that's something very important. And it's obviously the high before this big downside move. So I marked that out. And I think that we're going to be trying to target that or retest that in between these two levels in the morning. And so that's exactly what we do. We grab above this high, which occurs right before the market opens. At 9:08, we form a high at 17.5. And then right here, we go to 19.25. And then here, 19. We go down and we break below this little low right when the market opens. Now, it might seem like I'm spending a lot of time on this portion of the chart, but it's very important because you can catch a lot of these very dramatic moves in the morning. So for example, where do we bounce? This orange line right here. This orange line is a midway point. Let's go over to the 5-minute real quick. It's a midway point from this breakaway gap that we spoke about in the previous video. So we're breaking away from this consolidation range and we're forming a fair value gap. Now, as you can see, we obviously don't test this fair value gap until over here, and it gets quite respected. But this is an important level halfway between this fair value gap, especially when it's a breakaway candle on the 5-minute. So we're breaking away from this consolidation. That's what eventually breaks away from this entire zone, and that's what causes the immense sell-off that we saw on Thursday. Let's go back to the 1-minute chart so we can continue to go over this last portion here. But we bounce off, and then we don't obviously head for more liquidity to upside, and eventually we come down to this AM sell side, which we do hit. So we hit the AM sell side. That's basically their overall target, one of their overall targets, and then we end up hitting AM sell side all the way down here. This is just at 8 a.m. Now, after we've hit both of those zones, we know that they've kind of accomplished that morning goal. They've actually been able to hit PM buy side for previous day, AM buy side gets retested, and then the 8 a.m. sell side we saw gets broken through and retested, and the AM sell side gets broken through. And we come even further down. Now this is very, very important. PM sell side on Thursday. So what that means is during the afternoon session on Thursday, we form this low, and we can see it's a very important low as well because we had a very dramatic bounce off of it. So there's going to be a lot of stops lying right below this level. Long stops are going to be lying right below this level. And so it's going to be important for them to try to take out this level today of 47 on NQ. and you can see we get very, very close. We actually go right to 49, so 2 points off. So immediately in the morning, I send out this, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to pull up Discord here and I'm going to show you guys. So what I send out is I'm saying my bias tells me we chop or even push higher during the midday action before we see a sell-off late day. Now, of course, that exact thing happens, right? We chop around and we even push a little bit. But the reason that I said that is because we are being attracted to this low now. All we need to do throughout the rest of the day, in my opinion, that's where we're going to take a long over here, and I'll show you guys that trade. The reason we took a long is because we need to take out these liquidity zones over here before we eventually head down and take out this liquidity to downside. So this is super duper important. So let's go over now sort of this midday chop, as well as the silver bullet trade between 10 to 11 a.m. in the morning. So our silver bullet trade, which is explained by ICT. So this is not, my strategy, it's ICT's. What he teaches is you want to be taking a trade off of a break of structure and a retest to an FEG. So what that means, and I think we covered this in the last video, is between 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern, is you want to be looking for a break of structure, which occurs right here. We have this little high, we also have this high. We break to upside, and we form this FEG right here. And then we retest into this FEG, and your entry could be right there at that FEG. So your entry would be there, and then you would be looking for zones, even though it's not like you're gonna want to look for zones all the way up there because that's pretty freaking high. But you'd be wanting to look for zones like this in this consolidation. So your entry would be right there, and you'd have a nice little profit into this range of about 44 points, which is very, very nice. So that's what I would be looking for in this area. But we also do make this FEG right here to downside at 10:01. This is gonna be very important. And you can see it throughout the day. We actually respect this tiny little range. Maybe it's not right to the candle, right? But we're kind of gravitating towards it and away from it a lot throughout the day. So I just keep this marked out. A lot of things I like to delete, but this I kept marked out because I think it's very important. We're going to get to this trade over here in a second. Now, midday, I had not taken a trade yet, but I take this long. And so what I do is I alert a long at 9:52 Eastern, which means it's going to be about 12:52 Pacific, Pacific Eastern. Confuse those two, but we alerted right here, 12:52 Eastern. And the reason that I got into this trade is for two reasons. I want to get in a little bit early, but I see that we have this little FEG right here. And so this is going to be an FEG that we would be trying to reject off of, but we actually close above on the 1 minute, and that seems very bullish to me, especially because we tried to near the low a day over here at 47, or not low a day, but the PM sell side from previous day, and we're very close to low a day as well, and we failed to break below it. And so I'm thinking that if we can kind of confirm a bullet structure, this would be a great entry point for a move higher. And you can see, of course, that we have a very, very nice move higher. But one point of the chart that's very important as well is this spot, and it's a term called IO Fed. And what this stands for is Institutional Order Flow Entry Drill. And again, this is something taught by ICT. I'm just obviously using his concepts and using them in my own trades. But right here, I have it marked out for IO Fed, Institutional Order Flow Entry Drill. Typically what they do is they try to go one tick above or below a certain level before a large move higher, or simply a tiny little tick, like 1 point, or even just 0.25 on NQ, which is very, very small, one tick, right? That's gonna be a very small amount. So we can see right here, we formed 67.75 as a low. That's also going to be an order block, bearish order block, and we retest that as well as this FEG when we push higher. But right here we go to 67.75, here 67.75 as well. So this is going to be very important, going to the tick on the order block. To me, this is very, very important. And so after that, we rally. Of course, we're scaling in through here. We also scale right here, which is just this high at 10. And then we scale a little bit higher over here at 35. I wanted to scale a bit before my ultimate target, which is this 55 zone. And again, I'm not bullshitting any of these zones. So what I said, if we can find it here, is we're looking for 640 for TP. And of course, we can see we hit 640. My ultimate TP, which I did not share, was right there at 55. So I held a tad longer. But this trade hopefully does make sense on how we held it through all these little tiny pullbacks or consolidation. This area right here is very important. a lot of traders are going to sell their position here, but in order to see a move lower, if our bias is to have a move lower, we need to be taking out very prominent areas of liquidity. And so we need to be taking out this area in the morning at around 10:18 a.m. Eastern, as well as these two highs here. And we haven't done that. We only took out these little highs here, maybe this high right there, which we retest. But we need to take out this ultimate target, these ultimate targets. It looks like there's like about 4 or 5 highs that we need to take out there. We don't need to go all the way back up here, because if we go all the way back up here, what are the chances that we are able to go from there all the way into a new low a day within the last, hour, hour and a half of the day? It's very, very unlikely. So we're not expecting a 168 point move from, the AM or the PM buy side all the way down. So we have to just be rational about that. Hopefully this long trade makes sense. Again, just entering off a break above the bearish FEG, which turns into a bullish now. We retest, and we also retest this little zone here, which happens to be an order block. The last thing, I know I'm kind of making this analysis on just one trade very long. Oh, actually, maybe I'm mistaken. Actually, no, I'm not mistaken. So 5 minute, we have an FEG right there. So I'm looking for obviously possible upside because we're breaking above these wicks. We have a bullish FEG, and then we use this later. So let's just go into the last 2 trades. So the last 2 trades, I took a long, which happened to be a loss, but immediately we reversed it and got into a short. So I was looking for this. You can read it on your own if you want to, or another time, but we won't go over all of that. What I wanted to do was take an NQ long, which we did at 11:45. So that is right in here. So 2:45 Eastern. And the reason that I was taking this, and I said it was actually a starter. So I said NQ long 15,610, and it was a starter position. So very, very small size. It's a bit of a gamble, but I'm entering this trade looking for a break above this FEG, which we still have drawn out from the morning. And I wanted to see one more small push back up to these levels over here before we see more downside. And we didn't really get that, and so we end up exiting the trade. And I just want to be transparent with you guys. We took a loss, of course, so we went on the long 610, and then I said stop loss at 67, and then 3 minutes later the stop loss hit. And in that same alert, I also said I'm transitioning into an NQ short at the exact same price, because what I did is I just had my contracts so for the stop I had double the contracts in order to transition into the short. And so that ended up hitting at, okay, so for our short trade, I was kind of confusing myself there in the last clip, but in our short trade, we entered and exited right here at 12:03. So we exited our short position once it hit our stop loss, or actually it was 12:04, sorry, Pacific, and then Eastern time 3:04. We entered our short trade and then exited our long trade on this candle at 67. And the reason that I'm entering this now is because what are the odds that we somehow bounce off of these very, very close lows and this low over here? It is very improbable, and I'm expecting a huge knife. Of course, in hindsight, I can say I'm expecting a huge knife, but that's exactly what I was expecting. A very, very big knife through, and I was expecting us to hit this level of 18. And so this is a very important level, which I'll explain in a second as well. But that is the overall trade right there. We're nearing these lows. It is just probability. It's a matter of probability. It is very improbable that we're going to just start bouncing right there as soon as we enter the trade. Of course, we have this little green candle, but it doesn't really matter. Just add more if you want to. It's almost 100% certainty that we break the lows. Even just a little tick into it, I'm almost 100% sure about this trade. So we enter the short, and then within, we enter at 04. Within less than 10 minutes, we already have a very, very nice profit. So our entry is 67. Our ultimate exit is 25, and we end up, God, maybe my math is just absolutely off right here, but we end up getting about 37 points total on this trade. So very, very nice short indeed. And the level that we rejected off of happens to be this level right here at 10:01. So it's very, very important. Of course, I didn't even really, I saw it, but I was kind of gambling for the upside play. That is just completely on me. I learned from my mistake. But the good thing is we transitioned into shorts, and we know when to obviously exit the trade at a loss when it's needed. So hopefully that makes sense. It was, I would say, a pretty easy day of trading other than this small loss here, and of course very small position as well. But hopefully all these trades make sense, Again, ES, the action was a bit weird. The last few kind of days have just been very choppy. I don't like the candle sort of look to it. NQ has a very smooth look. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.